Okay guys, I'm actually recording this separately from the video because it didn't record my audio, but okay. Um, so what we're doing here is we're now going to be working on events, and this will be before, duck events, and this will be before or after the animations. So make sure you do the animations first. Um, um, so initially I had it so that you turn off the loop time on the animations for the dog. That's actually a bad idea, so don't do that. I actually go over it later on. Okay. So I guess we're creating a new script, and this one will be called Game Manager. So basically what this does is it manages the current level. So in this case we're going to have well, just wait and see. So I won't need those for the game manager. We're going to create a delegate, which is basically, it's like an array, except instead of holding ints or strings you can look at the video there. I'd highly recommend that you do that. But instead of doing ints or strings, it's actually an array of functions. So you can put multiple functions in a delegate, and then when you call that delegate, it'll run all of the functions that were assigned to it, which is really helpful because if you want like multiple things to happen at the same time, all you need to do is just call one or call the delegate, and then it'll have call all of those things, all those functions. So you type public delegate void, and then I called it duckdel. I didn't really know what to put it, and then I have the parentheses. The thing to keep in mind is that the void and then the name, or the void and the parameter list, in this case there is none, well, in other words, the functions have to match that signature. So you can only assign functions that are void and pass no parameters. And then for the static, that allows us to be able to access these delegates from wherever without needing a reference to the object that this script's attached to. And I'll name the first, oh yeah, and then duckdel is the type, and then now I'm putting in the names. So all of these are basically like events that happen. So we need an event for when the duck is spawned, another event for when the duck is shot, another event when the duck is dies, another one where it flies away. So this just helps us be able to, as I say, call multiple things at once. So for example, on the duck spawn, I want to spawn a duck as well as reset my bullets and things like that. not exactly sure what I'm saying here. Like I said, static allows these delegates to be accessed wherever without needing a reference to this script. So we're creating the game manager here. So let's rename it to game manager, and then we need to assign the game manager to the game object game manager. So assign the script to the game object. That way those delegates are available to us. So now we're creating a new script, I guess. Oh yeah, this one's the shooter script. So what this will do is allow you to shoot the duck, basically. Okay. Oh yeah, the thing that we'll need is a raycast. Basically, well, I won't talk about it just yet. The next thing that we need is the amount of bullets that we currently have. And then after that, we need to have the maximum amount of bullets, or in other words, the amount that our bullet amount will reset to whenever there's a new duck. Usually it's 3, so I usually set that to 3. Now we're typing in the mouse click, get mouse button down. 0 means the left mouse button, and the obvious thing that we need to do when we shoot is decrement the bullet amount. And then now we need an if statement, which will see if the bullet amount is less than 0, or less than or equal to 0. I think I'm going to be changing that. And here, this is when we're going to call the game manager. So we're going to access the game manager script that we just wrote, and we're going to call the fly away on duck fly away, I think is what it's called. And we're going to be doing this so that when you run out of bullets, oh yeah, so it's on duck fly away, yep. So when you run out of bullets, it'll cause, like, whatever functions we assign to that delegate, it'll run. In this case, we're going to be assigning the functions to cause the duck to fly away, and we want to call all those here. a good thing about having delegates is that it decouples um, it decouples scripts from one another. So instead of having to put the exact name of the script, or in other words, like instead of having to get access to the duck and the dog and all that in order to run the functions that I want, all I have to do is just call this one delegate and then it does everything for me. Well, not everything for me, but I don't have to get references to all those other things. Okay. Now we're going to be using the mouse position. Um, yep. So when we click, we get the current position of the mouse on the screen. One thing that we have to do though is we have to take into consideration the Z position of the camera. So we need to change the mouse position or the mouse pose so that it has the same Z position as the camera. And we do that by typing camera.main.transform.position.z. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is type out physics.raycast. And the thing is that, as I was saying, the mouse position's based on the screen and not the world position. And so what we need to do is we need to translate the screen position to world position so that we can do the raycast. So to do that, we type in camera.main.screen to world point, and then we put in the mouse position as the parameter. And that'll translate it to screen to world space. Next, we need to put in the direction that the ray is going to go in. So we want it to go from the camera forward. So camera.main.transform.forward will give us the forward direction of the camera. Then and then for the distance, we want it to be infinity. Like yeah, I mean you can set the distance, but in this case we should just make it infinity. And at this point, I actually forgot to put in the hit variable that we made up above. So you type in out and then hit. And then so when it makes this ray and it hits something, the reference of the object that the ray hit is put into this hit variable, kind of like on the onCollision enter, the onTrigger enter. Actually, it works pretty much the same way. And so now we want to make a test to see if what we hit is the duck, because that's what we're trying to shoot down. Right, so we'll type in hit dot transform dot tag and equals to duck. And then here, this is where you will you'll kill the duck. So you'll need to use getComponent again for this. But I won't tell you how to do that. You have to learn how to do it yourselves. So use the get component in hit to get the duck health script, and yours might be named differently. It's basically the script that deletes the duck. but in this case I called it duck-held. I know that some of you named that script a little bit differently. I think like some of you guys named it like Duck Destroy or something like that. So, and then in the duck-held script, we haven't created it yet, but we are going to be calling a function called killDuck from. So we're getting the reference to the script, to that health script, and then we're calling the killDuck function from there. Although we haven't made that yet. Okay, now we need to have a function called reset bullets, so that each time that a new duck appears, our bullets will be reset back to the max bullets value. So we'll always have more bullets for each round. And this is the part where we'll have to call the game manager once again to access the on duck on spawn duck. We're going to be adding the reset bullets function to the on spawn ducks delegate. So now whenever the duck spawns, our bullets are reset. Right, and of course, reset bullets will be just one of many functions that are stored within the on spawn ducks delegate. And just to tell you, I'm not showing you guys like how these play out step by step in Unity, because they're all kind of interconnected with each other. So now we're going to be changing things in duck movement. You'll also notice that I have Lord of the Rings wallpaper, so I'm just kidding. So, oh yeah, this is where we're going to be making the bounces. So basically, after bouncing a certain time, we want the duck to fly away. So we're going to have two variables, bounce and then bounce max. So bounce is going to start at 0, and each time the duck changes direction, we're going to increment that. And so I'm going to be typing, and we want that whenever the direction changes. So bounce plus plus, and then now we need to make sure that the bounce is less than bounce max. Sometimes I put 5 for bounce max, so it'll change direction 5 times and then it'll fly away. And then in here, this is when we're going to call I think it's the on duck fly. Oh yeah, that's first we're going to make the duck actually fly up, so that's why we're changing the direction, so the duck will fly up now. And then this is where we call the flyaway delegate, because once the maximum amount of bounce has been reached, that's when the duck will fly away. So game manager, and then dot unduck miss, that's what it is. So onDuck miss starts the whole sequence of the duck flying away. Oh yeah, so we're going to be creating three functions that set the direction of the duck. In this case, the stop movement one will set the direction to 0, 0, 0, and this will be used for when the duck is shot, because we want the duck to be shot and to not move for about, like, say 30 seconds, and then it'll start to fall down after that. This next one is start fall, which is what I said. This one we're going to be changing the direction to 0, -1, 0, so that the duck starts going down. And then finally we have public void fly away, which is the movement for when the duck starts flying away, obviously. And it'll be 0, 1, 0. And now we need to add those to our delegates. So on duck shoot, we're going to assign the stop movement function to it. So now whenever on duck shoot is called, it'll run the stop movement function. Next is on duck miss, I think. Yeah. And we're going to assign the start or the fly away. Okay. Now we're going to be changing the duck count. So we're going to create a variable to store the animator of the duck, which is what controls the animations. And then we also need a bool for is invincible. This bool will be used so that when the duck either dies or flies away, we can't keep shooting the duck, because that would just be bizarre. And then you're going to need to use get component to get the animator from the duck, and then assign it to the anim variable. So use get component to get the animator and assign to anim. And that's where you'd put it. One thing that we need to do is we need to create and actually we have the kill zone, but we need a fly away zone so that when the duck flies up, it will destroy itself, right? So I'm going to be duplicating the kill zone. Well, maybe not yet. No, there. And I'm going to move it into place. Stretch it out a little bit. See what it looks like in 2D. And now I'm going to rename it to fly zone. Or fly away zone, I mean. And we're going to add a new tag called fly zone, which is what we wrote, or we're going to write in this script, so that it knows that this is the fly zone instead of the kill zone. And so, yeah, I'm going to set it right there. Okay, and in the on trigger enter, this is when we're going to need to, because it's going to run, see if it's kill zone tag, and it's not going to be. So now we need to filter to see if it's the fly zone. And we're going to need to call onDuck fly away for when it hits that fly zone, so that we can call any function that we'll need to use when it flies away. And then after that, that's when you'll destroy the duck. And I'm going to be creating a function called make invincible, so that I can set the invincibility of the duck when you either miss or you kill the duck. We're going to be creating another function. This is the kill duck function that I was talking about at the very beginning. This is when we're going to see if the duck isn't invincible, I mean, and if it's not, then we will play the shot animation, and then your animation name might be different. Mine was called Duck Dead for when it, it's shot like that. And then And then once again, I need to call from here I need to call the onDuck as shot. So whatever function we've applied to onDuck shot, it'll run. And we're going to take the make invincible function, and we're going to assign it to the onDuck shot, or onDuck miss, I mean, and then onDuck shot. So that we can't just keep shooting the duck. Okay, now we're going to move on to the duck spawner. And just to tell you, you need to make sure that you've already figured how to instantiate the duck. And from here, we're just going to assign the spawnDuck function to onSpawnDucks. And this was the thing that'll make it so that when we call the onSpawnDucks, spawnDuck, or a duck will spawn, I mean. Okay, and lastly we have our direction changer. Well, I guess this isn't the last one, we still have one more. But there's two things that we need. We need to create two functions called turn off and turn on. And what we're going to be doing in these two functions is we're actually going to be turning off the borders, right? And I'll explain why we need to do that. I guess I typed that in wrong. So turn on, and then set that to true. Okay, and we're going to be assigning the turn off function to the onDuck miss delegate and onDuck shot delegate. So onDuck shot plus equals turn off. And then game manager dot onDuck miss plus equals turn off. And then we also want to turn on the onSpawnDucks. So we want the boundaries to appear when the duck appears, or spawned, I mean. So basically what's happening is that we have the 4 boundaries on each side, and the duck, when it flies around, it's going to be, like, if the duck falls, it's going to just land on top of the boundary, but the kill zone's right underneath. So we need to turn off the bottom boundary for when the duck is shot, like that, so that it's able to pass through and then hit the kill zone. And it's the same thing with the top boundary. We need the top boundary to turn off so that when the duck flies away, it's able to pass through it and then hit the flyaway zone. Okay, we actually need to create another script. This one's actually for the dog, because we need to be able to control when the dog plays its animations. Like for when it laughs at you when you miss. So I named it dog control. And we need to get the dog's animator so that we can control the animations. I named the variable anim again. And then once again, you'll need to use, well, I'm going to take out update because we don't need it. But once again, you're going to need to use get component to get the animator from the dog and then assign the reference to it to the anim variable that we just created. So we're going to create another function. This one is called spawn ducks, and the reason why is because we want the dog, when it's done playing its animations, to call the spawn ducks delegate, which will then call the other or run all the other functions that we have assigned to it, such as actually instantiating the duck and turning on the borders. And we're actually going to be calling this spawn ducks function from the animation window. Well, it's the animation window. We need another function that will play the laughing animation. So anim.play, and then the name, I named the laughing animation dog laugh anim. And then we need another function that will play the dog just holding the duck. I called that play duck. And anim.play, and then once again the name of that animation. So I called it dog duck anim. Now we need to assign the play laugh and the play duck. So we're going to assign the play laugh to the unduck death. So basically when the duck hits the kill zone, it'll start playing the dog laughing animation. And then we need to assign the play duck animation for when, or the laughing animation for when the duck hits that the fly zone that we created. So yeah, once it's called on death or fly away, it'll play the corresponding animation for the dog. So now we're actually going to scroll over to the very end of the animation. I mean, well, you can't do it at the very end, but do it like right before the end, because sometimes when you place at the very end, it won't play the function. But you click on, that marker thing right there. then you double click on the marker, and then it brings up this menu. And this point I forgot that I needed to attach the dog function, but I'm just going to start attaching all the other functions that I've created here. So I'm going to attach the dog control to the dog. Then I'm going to attach the shooter. I'm going to attach the shooter to the camera, and I'm going to select the spawn ducks for that function, and I'm going to keep doing that for each of these. Right, this is the laughing one, right? So once again, click there, double click on it, and then select spawn ducks. So when the dog's done laughing, it'll spawn ducks. The same thing with this one. With the, yeah. Okay. Now we need to go to the duck dead because we need to call the function for it to start falling. So after the duck is shot and then it plays through that 30 seconds, it's going to play the start fall function to make the duck actually fall down. Otherwise it's just going to freeze there in space. So we call that, and see it's calling that function there. And then it'll hit the bottom, and then it'll start playing the dog with duck animation when it hits the kill zone. And then once it's done playing through that kill zone, yeah, as I said, the dog, it'll play through the animation, and then it'll spawn the ducks. So you kind of see how everything's interconnected. So then now you have another duck that you can shoot down, and then the process repeats over again. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm actually going to be going through, and since there's those parts in the script that I didn't fill out because you guys needed to fill out, I figured it'd just be easier to assign my old scripts to that I've already completely filled out, and assign them to my game objects. And don't worry, they're pretty much the same, except really the only thing that's really missing from those is the get component. No, the get component that's missing. You need to make sure you set the max bullets. And the reason why all these say advance is so that I know that it's for the events, for the events assignment, right? So make sure speed is dot 1, and then I usually set the bounce to 5. So the duck will fly around and bounce 5 times. And so now the duck's bouncing around and it's flying away, except it's not being destroyed. So basically what I had to do is on my script that I added, it wasn't using the right tag because I had fly zone tag in my scripts instead of fly zone. And then now I'm trying to figure out the reason why the animation's not playing for the duck. One of the things that I needed to do was get rid of the components. And of course, um, what it is I didn't turn the animator on for the ducks, which is kind of silly. So I applied that, so now the ducks will be flapping around. And when we shoot the duck, it falls down, yay! Uh-oh, but it doesn't replay again. Like it only plays it once. Okay, now I'm gonna go in and clear out all those scripts that I showed you guys that are incomplete, right? Well, I deleted the dog one. So I shoot again and it doesn't replay. Like it just plays once and then it doesn't play again, it almost seems like. So the duck flies away, the dog laughs. Duck flies away again, nothing happens. Getting rid of the rest of these components. Make sure I got rid of all those ones. It's probably not a good thing to have two ducks at once. But once again, it's not working. Flies away, and nothing happens. So it flies away and laughs. We shoot. Dog comes again. Shoot again. And nothing happens. So just as I suspected, we need to have the animations loop, because if it plays just once, it's not ever going to play again. But since they're looping, we don't want them to loop, so we have to create a new animation, and we'll name this dog idle. So whenever those other animations are done playing, it's going to link to the dog idle, like it's going to transition into the dog idle animation. So those other ones, such as the dog laughing, don't keep happening over and over and over again. And for the dog idle, all we're going to do is we're going to take the sprites no. We're going to take the sprites and then make them none, so that it's invisible while it's idling. And I just got to adjust that. Yeah, so they're invisible now. And now I need to make transitions to the dog idle so that, as I said, they don't keep looping over and over and over again. So I need to, the one thing that we need to do though is to change the transition amount. So we want to bump that up so that I'm trying to move the dog idle. For some reason it's not moving. Normally you can move it, but for some reason it's not. But you want to reduce the transition time as much as possible. And let's do the same thing with this one as well. And for some reason I can't move it. I don't understand it, but whatever. Okay. Now, when we play it, it should play out normally. So we shoot the duck, dog comes out. When we shoot the duck again, the dog comes out again, which is exactly what we want. And the duck will fly away and it'll play that, and the duck will fly away again, and it'll play it again. So it works perfectly now. Now we got a pretty good game going. Thanks, bye.